trades. There's two big names that have trade rumors associated to them, and the first one is very interesting with Stefon Diggs. And it feels like we talk about this guy every single offseason. At this point, maybe it's just tradition at this point to bring him up as a guy who wants a trade. They're paying the Vikings are paying Stefon Diggs a ton of money, and they're really not giving him the volume for what they're paying him. So if I'm the Vikings, I'm like, well, I have Adam Thielen there. Maybe they move away from Adam Thielen and make Diggs the one. But that doesn't seem to be the case as it stands. What are some good landing spots for Stefon Diggs?
Well, we've certainly talked about plenty of teams today that could use a wide receiver. For me, the one that immediately, or the two, I guess, that immediately popped in my mind are the Indianapolis Colts and the Oakland Raiders. They're the two teams that I think are the most wide receiver desperate at this point. I mean, the Colts would make sense because I think he's a perfect complement to T.Y. Hilton. The thing that concerns me about that is another 1A, 1B type situation in an offense that, at least over this past year, wasn't super, super heavy from a passing volume standpoint. So maybe you run into some issues there, but I think the Colts will be willing to air it out and will be willing to give Stefon Diggs the rock. But the one that I think is kind of the 1A if he's going to get traded is the Oakland Raiders. They've got draft capital. They've got cap space. They've got a huge need at wide receiver. So Antonio Brown was quite a diva there. I don't think Stefon Diggs is going to be quite on that level or ever anything close. So maybe they're like, hey, we've dealt with it before. We're ready to go with a guy that has the talent of Stefon Diggs that can come in, win on all three levels, burn guys deep, win underneath, be a possession guy, run crispy routes, be Derek Carr's best friend, and make a lot of money. So I think the Raiders would be awesome. That would surely bring some excitement to Vegas in year one, with the relocation and things like that. So to me, I'd love to see it. It would be awesome to see Stefon Diggs in that silver and black, and I think he would certainly take a step up from a statistics standpoint, from a fantasy football standpoint. He'd become a lot more interesting on that offense. Steph, you got any landing spots in mind, or do you think the Colts or the Raiders would be kind of the 1A, 1B?
I definitely like those. One I'll throw out there, just this is a homer pick because I would love to see it. I don't know contract-wise, Stefon Diggs is on a pretty big contract. He's on a 5-year, $72 million deal that he signed back in 2018. He's getting paid about $14.5 million a year. But one of the teams that I think could afford him and could make a ton of sense for them would be the New England Patriots. I know everybody hates to hear that, but I actually love Stefon Diggs coming in as the wide receiver one. We saw Belichick bring in Antonio Brown. I feel like they're still looking for that, key guy. We know when Belichick dials in on one of these top wide receivers, he goes all in and tries to get him. It seems like Belichick always gets his way. So if Stefon Diggs is one that's caught his eye, I love that as a landing spot for him. Come in and be explosive for Brady. Could be a leader for that wide receiver core with N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers. There are some younger guys that he could mentor as well. I believe Diggs is 26 or 27 years old at this point. So, he's on his big contract. So that could be a good spot. Now, let's talk about Alshon Jeffery. I know we mentioned him a couple different times as we went through some of the needy teams, but one of the ones we didn't talk about too much was the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they should have been in that bottom two here. I know some folks out there are going to disagree. By all means, let us know in the comments. But I love Alshon Jeffery as a fit on that Bills wide receiver core. Him across from John Brown, I think would be a fantastic core for John Brown. For Josh Allen. And they need help at times when they get down on the goal line. They need help in the red zone. They can't just keep giving it to Frank Gore on the one and expect things to work out. Yes, maybe they go and bring in a big running back to help in that department, but I also think Alshon Jeffery could be helpful to them, especially on third down to help out Josh Allen. Just give him a big target he can throw it up to, corner out back of the end zone and score for them. I think that'd be a pretty interesting one. I think the Bills feel like they're contenders right now.
Wow, I love that take. I know we kind of touched on the Bills briefly earlier, but that's a perfect fit for them. If they go out and get Alshon Jeffery, I think they're immediately a contender. He's exactly what they need. They say the tight end is the quarterback's best friend, especially an inaccurate quarterback. Not pointing any fingers at Josh Allen or anything. He did improve a lot in year two. I'll give him that. But Alshon Jeffrey's about the closest thing you can get to a tight end at the wide receiver position. Big body, red zone threat, a true number one, and he would really open up things for John Brown. Cole Beasley would still be running underneath. You got Devin Singletary at running back, Josh Allen. That would be a really scary team. I love that pick, and I'd love to see it happen. They got the cap space to make it happen, so we'll keep an eye out on that one for sure. I think the Eagles could probably get a pretty good haul. Maybe it's more of a cap dump. I don't really know what the evaluation would be because they are going to be taking on Alshon's contract, but the Bills certainly have the assets to make it happen. So I think that's, a great fit and honestly a likely pick if the Eagles do try to move on.
Yeah, Bills are third overall in cap space at $83 million. I don't know if they have a ton of guys that they need to re-sign, so could be very, very likely. They also have, in terms of draft capital, I'm not sure I can spot check on the Bills here. Maybe they go with a wide receiver, but I think they seem like a team that's like, hey, we're getting close to win now mode. We're a few pieces away from getting over the hump. Maybe Josh Allen is one of those pieces that they need to work through. That's a whole different episode that we could record here, Alex.